Welcome to Rack of the Week 232. We're not going to talk about straight pool today, except that I'm going to talk about straight pool today. On the screen, you can see my Patreon and YouTube supporters. Thank you very much for your support. We're going to take a look at the one queuing arts game that is the closest to straight pool, and that's snooker. I'm not going to show a video. We're going to look at images, and I'm going to give you some food for thought. Just recently, the GOAT of snooker, Ronnie O'Sullivan, did something really unique. He ran two 147s in a single match against a single opponent. 147 in snooker means clearing the entire table without a single miss and pocketing the black 15 times, once after each of the 15 reds. You get 147 points in snooker because they assign point values to the colored balls. But if we're looking at it from a straight pool point of view, he pocketed 37 shots to score the 147 points. So if you put the two of them together, that's a 74 ball run. Now that's a very nice run. It's nothing super impressive as far as long runs go. But remember, this is on a 6x12 snooker table. On your screen, you're looking at rack number one. These are the 28 shots after the first red and the first black that Ronnie O'Sullivan made, and then he would shoot the 7 colors to wrap up the 147. But this is the part that's similar to straight pool. Look at the top left corner of your screen. That's the beginning of the rack. That's very similar to what a straight pool rack might look like after the break shot. You've got a cluster of balls in the center of the table. You have a few perimeter balls, and you've got an opening shot to begin with. I invite you to freeze this video and look at all these shots. We go left to right and top to bottom. You can see all 28 shots. What can you see that's similar to a straight pool rack that's well played by a professional? I'm going to go ahead and put up rack number 2 now. This is rack number 2, same type of thing. What similarities can you see between what Ronnie is doing here and a straight pool rack? Here's what I see. Take a look at the cut angle of every single shot, all 28 shots in both racks. Except for 1 or 2 shots, every single cut angle was probably between 0 and 15 degrees, a very shallow cut angle, or what we would call a heavy hit. That's not by accident, and that takes superior cue ball control. It takes a master level of cue ball control to arrive at a shallow angle, which is also just the right angle that you need to move the cue ball as little as possible to get to the next shot. That's how you score 147 in snooker. That's how you do it in straight pool. You don't do it by smashing into the rack and then re-breaking them again and spreading the balls wide across the table. So that's what I call table management. It's not about the bravado of making fancy shots. It's about the superior skill of controlling the cue ball so that you never have to shoot a difficult shot. That's what they said about Willie Mosconi. Take a look at the balls in rack number 2 and rack number 1. I'll put rack number 1 back up. You see a few perimeter balls. Ronnie eliminates the perimeter balls first. Once the perimeter balls are eliminated, that's right about here. Does he immediately go for smashing this rack open? No. He goes ahead and plays for these other 2 loose balls, and there's a cluster still in the middle. But if you notice, I'm going to need to put on my glasses to take a look at it. There's 5 balls here, kind of in an Olympic rings pattern. See these 5 balls right in the center? And then, while there are 2 balls still loose up here, in this inning right here, he's played position between the pink and the bunch of reds to shoot this 1 red into this corner pocket. In other words, he's finding balls that look like they're part of a cluster, but are actually open to the pocket. Once you eliminate 1 or 2 of those balls, other balls in that cluster become open to other pockets. So he's literally playing every ball that he possibly can before thinking about running into the cluster. So after shooting that ball, that's part of that 5-ball pattern, he still eliminates the other loose balls. And only then, when there's 4 balls left, instead of 6 or 7, like up here, then does he go into that cluster with the black. So now you might call that a rebreak in straight pool, but that's not a rebreak. That's just a nudge. He's just tapping the cluster because there aren't 7, 8, 9 balls anymore. There's only 4 balls to tap open right here. See that? So now not only can you get those balls open easily without having to blast into them with a lot of force, you can do it with control, having a very good idea of where each of those objects are and the cue ball are going to go. That's exactly what happened on his nudge of opening those balls here. Shoots this ball on the side, draws back for the black, gets positioned on this red. This is probably the only shot where he had a cut angle more than 15 degrees. And he had to send the cue ball all the way up table and back down for it to land here, where? Within 15-degree cut angle on the black. That's a master at work, and then cleared the table. Pretty much the same story in the second rack. As you can see in your top left corner of the screen, a big, nasty-looking cluster in the center of the table. But I invite you to freeze the frame and look through each of his shots in order. Did he blast into those balls? No. The cluster in the center of the table simply became smaller as he progressed through the rack because he's picking them off. And only until he got to this point, and this one's actually a bigger cluster. What is there? 4? There's 7 balls there, 7 reds. Did he go into the balls and end up with somewhat of a difficult shot into the side, a shot more than 15 degrees? But after that shot, look at the remainder of the rack. Heavy, heavy hit, heavy hit, heavy hit. This one probably closer to 15 degrees. Heavy hit, heavy hit, heavy hit. This is how you play straight pool. This is the language of pool. It is how you play snooker as well. It's being a master of the cue ball and taking as little risk as possible. That's the antithesis. That's the opposite of smashing the rack open, spreading the balls wide over the table, and relying on the bravado of shot making to pocket the balls. I think that's something we've lost when pro pool transitioned to rotation type games. Snooker still has it and has had it for over 100 years. Straight pool has had it for over 100 years. Those are the best games on the planet, in my opinion. And I hope you enjoy that and got some food for thought. Tell me what you think about my opinion in the comments section. Don't worry, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I've heard it all before. This is the way that you play pool. This type of run, and a run such as a lot of runs by John Schmidt, especially including his 626, are what I call, and a lot of people call, a clean run. That means you would shoot any of these shots if someone was holding a, to your head, or if you had $1 million on the line, you would still shoot these shots. Why? Because you got within 15 degrees of a cut angle, cue ball's close to the object ball, you are not going to miss. Zero risk, or as little risk as possible in your cue ball positioning and your shot making. That's clean pool. That's a clean run. That's the best way to play the best games that exist, straight pool and snooker.
You've looked like you've been in the mood this week as well. You have a sort of a spring in your step. People have noticed it. When you came tonight, did you feel any different or anything like that?
No. I think you've got to get playing well, cueing well, and the mind right, and be focused. And I think that's what I felt against Wilson. Kyra and I had to really focus, and just what I've got to make him work for this. So I had to really knuckle down and focus and concentrate. And I thought, well, let's try and take that same attitude into tonight.
Hope you like that. We'll do something different on Rack of the Week next week. If you're going to play straight pool or snooker, play it straight, and see you next week on Rack of the Week. Bye.